Yeah, so what I was going to mention first, I was going to tell you guys a couple points that I would kind of want to talk about each of these points, and then anything you guys want to say, just add it in whenever. Um,
Want me to take notes, or are you going to be our
I will
taking
take
the
I'm
lead?
notes. Anybody can take notes, whatever.
I know if you're recording the minutes for posterity.
I'm actually I was gonna type up the minutes and give it to you guys because I
Well
do this
done.
anyway.
Excellent.
I have a list of things here to talk about, but we'll just start with the first one on my list, which is when we go to recruit people and things like that. One of the things I want to talk about was the mindset of the people that we're looking for. What are people's goals? Are we recruiting just anybody, or are we going to recruit specific people at this point on? I mean, it's hard to say how many people we have. We have about 80 people, I think, on our Facebook roster. We have a couple more than that. I mean, we have probably like 10 more plus than that. Who knows how many people are actually going to show up on the day where we start playing? So whether it be 40 or 50 or 60, I don't know. But from here on out, what do we want to do for people's mindsets? Do we want to just make sure people can raid, or do we just accept anybody? And when you can raid, you can raid.
I mean, out the gate, we should just mass recruit.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're going to know by the time we have enough people at 60, we're going to know whether or not that they are going to be worth bringing to the raid or not.
Right. And I was thinking that too. The only issue with that, but I kind of have a solution to it already. But the only issue with that I would start to say is like, okay, when it comes to raid day and there's a bunch of people that are not getting in the raid, then those people are going to be left out to dry over and over again. And that always becomes not a big problem if we want to keep a small guild, but if we want to keep a big guild, then we have to start talking about a second raid group, which can become problematic for a lot of guilds. But I think we could do it, and I know I can, because I'm going to be around all the time, so I can easily manage a second group. But I do have to talk about that.
Well, I was going to suggest that, as we're all playing, and we're all going to be at different paces, except, I mean, Jesse's going to go straight to 60, but a lot of us are going to be on different paces, and, occasionally, I mean, what's worked for me in the past is kind of keep an eye on people that are kind of questing at your pace, and if somebody seems cool, like, and they're being helpful or whatever, they don't seem like they got some kind of closet mental issue or whatever, definitely use that as like I think we should definitely be open to recruiting people in that way as well.
People in the closet with issues.
Closet psychotic.
There you go.
It's a good thing there's a slash who for that.
Yeah.
No, it should be who you find around and who you might enjoy company with. I mean, everybody that you're going to recruit is going to be a gamble, no matter how you say
I
it.
agree.
You have to find which people are worth taking a gamble on, because a lot of these people are going to filter themselves out. They're going to become inactive. They're going to jump ship and join a guild because their friend on the server, sorry, I didn't know my friend, blah, blah, blah. Okay, bye. Like, a lot of that crap's going to go on. But if we just recruit blindly, like we just set a fucking bot up in Orgrimmar and grab everybody, we're going to get a whole bunch of toxic horse shit that we can avoid by not doing that.
Yeah, our guild will become the slums of Orgrimmar with that.
I'm thinking like a very, like if you meet anybody along the way and they seem like they're halfway decent, offer them an invite, see what, and if they jump in and they join us, cool. And if they don't, then, be on your way. And if each of us does that all the time, we will recruit a good amount, and then some of them will disappear, some of them will stay, and some of them will be quality members.
Yep, agreed. And I think there's going to be times where I'll probably still, with that being said, I probably still will throw out occasional recruitment posts if I go through a town.
Yeah, let's have a stock
that's
macro
definitely a
that we
good
all
idea.
have. That
Yeah.
way, whenever we're like in a major city, like each of the officers are delivering the same message, because we got to make sure our message is consistent. And so, like, what we should do is come up with that macro, like, right away, like how we're going to recruit people, what we're looking for. That way, it just seems more professional. I mean, as professional as WoW can be, but you know what I mean.
Cool. Yeah. I'll put that down. And then, with that being said, the people that we recruit through that system will have maybe like a little I mean, they'll probably want to ask questions anyways, but make sure that we have a little bit of conversation. We don't just accept anybody's like, oh, invite. We'll make sure that we kind of maybe talk to them for just a second or something, put a little time into it.
Yeah, no ninja invites to the guild. That's just going to be bad news.
Well, especially because you'll find that one person whose entire pleasure in this game is drama, and then they'll make a new character. Oh, can I get invited to your cool guild? And then they'll be a faggot forever. Like, I've had that shit happen. It's so annoying. And the other thing that we might want to stay away from is putting anything in the recruiting message pertaining to streaming. That's been a really weird hotspot for people on the community groups. Everybody's getting some odd super boner about stream sniping. I don't know what the deal is. But if people in the guild organically find out that we have someone who does that, cool. No big deal. They'll support and we'll move on. But if you throw that up there as a reason for people to come in, I think you're going to get more negative response than positive.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Sweet. Is there anything else you guys want to add to that?
Well, like I said, I mean, we have a minimum of a month before, rating is even going to be, something that's talked about, really. I mean, there's all these guys who are like, oh, we're going to clear MC in the first week. And I'm like, okay, dude, good luck with that because you won't.
No.
The old BFA veteran.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They think,
Yeah.
and I'm like, dude, if you get to 60 in a week, you're trucking, But I mean, you might get to 60, but you're not geared for anything. You're 60 in crap, greens that you've picked up along the way.
And you and your 4 sweaty friends, to use a new phrase,
Sweaty.
Yes.
you and your sweaty friends are not going to.
Why
be
isn't that
40
the guild name?
ready
Sweaty
to
Friends.
Walk into a. Oh God, no! Don't do it.
Sweaty folk.
All right.
But
So
they're in their 3, retard buddies are not going to be enough to run a raid. You know what I mean? They're just going to be pugging it. All they're declaring is that is their top priority. It doesn't guarantee any level of success. And anybody with half a brain is going to be able to determine that immediately.
Right. Yeah, and that led to my second point exactly, which is the realistic time everybody's going to hit 60. We can't determine exactly when we're going to start doing MC. We have to kind of go with the flow, what the guild is doing. But that being said, if we put some kind of maybe goal in place, that might help people speed up a little bit, push people a little bit extra. I was trying to think about the realistic time people are going to hit 60. You have a lot of ding-dongs out there on the community that is talking about hitting it in a couple of days. That's a bunch of bullshit, obviously.
Well, those ding-dongs also never played Classic.
Yeah.
They started in Wrath or they started in,
Well, then
whatever.
and then they see people like Johanna level in 4 days and something played time, or it's like that's like a perfected run. So that being said, what is realistic? I think people playing 2 to 3 hours a day, 6 days of the week is probably a realistic pace. Right?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it'll probably be a month before a month at the
Yeah, I would say it's more
minimum.
like 2 months. I would probably guess.
The difference is people being capped versus people being prepared is a whole nother matter entirely.
Right.
If we can have some very generous individuals who want to help the group, aka us and whoever has a similar mindset, you're going to have this ability to gear ourselves up primarily, and then once we have enough to sort of hold our own, we can start running groups for the people who are catching up and lower the length of time it takes them to be ready.
Right.
I agree. Yeah.
Well, it's because people don't realize you can't run into a pack of 20 as a mage and Frost Nova and Blizzard them all down. It doesn't work like that in Classic. Shoot, you probably do 3.
Yeah. Well, you can
maybe 4.
You can,
but once you're max level, that changes. But it'll be funny to see people run off as a mage into a group of 5 and Frost Nova, then start blizzarding and realize that they're only doing 3 damage per hit. And
you don't have that innate spell power. When you level up, you don't get spell power.
Right.
There are some perfected mage runs that you can do some crazy pulls. I've done it all the way to 60, but it takes a lot of practice, and people don't realize how hard it's going to be on the mage.
Yeah, I don't believe that the average individual is going to do that.
It's going to be very hard
and
on
even
release
let's
anyways.
say a bunch of people followed that template. Great, now
Exactly.
you get a surplus of mages, and we're going to need some diversity.
Oh yeah, they won't be able to do it because there's going to be too many mages farming that shit. But okay.
Point is, I've always been a big fan of organic recruiting. Like on-demand recruiting has never worked out in my benefit. Usually brings in trolls and drama.
Yeah. So if it's anything, so we don't know how hard Blizzard's going to scale Molten Core. People are actually talking about how they might scale it harder because we're coming into 1.2. Where back in the day it was not 1.2, it was 1.1, whatever, and it was a lot harder. It'd been harder back then. There's some things that we have that people didn't have on original WoW release. So people are saying that Molten Core will become easier with some of the dungeon blues that we're going to be able to gather. Therefore, we don't know if Blizzard's going to scale up or not. If they do scale up, then yeah, we're going to need to get pre-raid biz gear. If not, people are on the understanding that you can run a full group through Molten Core with basically full greens if everybody knows on the same page. So we have to basically end up finding out how hard Molten Core is going to be, I guess. I want to do pre-raid bis runs for dungeons, but if half of our raid has pre-raid bis and the other half doesn't, we still might be able to go through Molten Core and a lot of the content.
I mean, I really think it's going to depend how it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Once we know, we can sort of gauge. I mean, what we want and what's going to be may or may not be the same. It's not up to.
Yeah, agreed.
Just kind of quick side note, just talking about differences between classic and vanilla, and something I thought about. I just want to say before I do, does anybody know if the mail is going to be instant or is it going to go back to taking 2 hours to send something to yourself?
Pretty sure it's gonna be a 2-hour thing.
Yeah, it's gonna be original mail system, no buddy mail.
I was hoping it was maybe just because servers were like, it took a lot more to run them back then. I don't know.
Well, I think the biggest thing is it's just going to mean that we're going to have bank tunes in the main towns that we just leave there so that we can run up, trade gear, or, trade, mats or whatever with that bank tune. That way we can, I mean, even playing Classic after like the first week, I don't think I ever mailed anything ever again. I would just, I would go to the bank or go to my bank tune, drop off whatever I needed to, and then dump it in the bank and be done with it. But like I said, I was also running 2 accounts. So I had an account that was just my bank account, and I had an account that was the one I played on. So, but I mean, if we have a bank tune, whichever one of us decides to have a bank tune, or we all will have them, and it's like, oh, well, hold on, let me log over to my bank tune.
Right. That's what I was about to say. And that's just helping each other out. That's easy.
Yep, that goes perfectly into my next point too. I'm definitely going to have a bank to myself with a separate account. But that being said, do we want to do a guild bank, and how do we want to run that?
Guild bank initially, it should be people can deposit stuff that we're looking for maybe, but definitely it should just be like people would have to petition officers to withdraw from it, because otherwise we're going to lose like mats constant. That way we ensure that people aren't just completely, withdrawing everything they need, and then the next thing you know, they find a new guild, and there we go. You know what I mean? Same with money, especially. Like, we need to be able to control how much gold is going in and out of the bank, and make sure that nobody's being abusive. It should definitely. I would say that no single officer should be the one that makes the determination if somebody needs it, but definitely it should be kind of like a council thing. Like,
you got to remember though, we don't have guild banks.
Somebody need gold. Like the only gold I would imagine giving out from the guild would be and that's only at the discretion of somebody higher, at a repair during a raid, like something progression, and people are eating far into their gold stash. That's the only time I would consider distributing gold. The only way it should go is into the guild.
But we don't have guild banks.
Yeah, so what Kaotik is saying is right.
Yeah, we don't. Guild banks didn't show up until like
right.
2.5 or something.
There's always a guild banker. I presume he was talking about somebody possessing the goods. Am I wrong?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh, okay. Right? Well,
flashbacks.
I'm talking about the mule. I'm talking about our mules. Like
I mean, that same way.
Sure.
We definitely got to regulate it and talk about what going in and out.
Right. Do we want to have people like specific? We have somebody for potions and somebody for whatever. We just split it up amongst our officers.
That would be the easiest thing to do. Is each one of us have a mule, and basically name our mule something that has to do with whatever, if we can get it. So like if I'm going to be if I main Shadow Priest and I'm going to be doing tailoring and enchanting, then I might name my mule Clothy Boy or something, ridiculous. Mm-hmm. That way everybody knows cloth goes to this character,
Well, here's the thing that I'm worried about with that. So when you start spreading out specifics between specific people, like, I can honestly say without question that, Jesse, you're probably going to be there for the first and last raid this guild does. It might be better, man, that you make the ults with these banks, because I know for a fact, being a teacher, that like sometimes my schedule is going to get crazy. And if you guys are waiting for me to log on when I have like no time to give you a potion, you know what I mean? Like that might be hard for me in like a month that's close to finals for my kids. So like we need to make sure that whoever has these bank accounts are at least available at peak times for people to get what they need.
Well, right. So like let's say I have a mule and my mule is for cloth, and everybody's mailing cloth or sending cloth to my mule. Then, I get on when I'm on and I make 20 bags, and I drop the bags in the mail to Jesse. That way he's got them, you know what I'm saying? So it's
right.
You use your mule to collect mats, and then once you make whatever you need to make, then you send them to, say, Jesse's raid tune or whatever, his I don't know what we'll call it, his Uber mule.
Yeah, okay.
That will have all the bank or some potions. Yeah, basically that will have all the potions, all the bags, all the crafted stuff, scrolls and whatnot for weapon enchants, and so basically once you make everything, you just would mail it back to him or find him and dump it off with him so that he could have it. But that way he's not having to take in items and then redistribute items in order for us to get them, make them, and then get them back to him. It would cut one of the processes out.
Yep. That's streamlined. I like that.
That's a lot of that's going to take place later on, like for the early part of
Definitely.
the game. Though that stuff's going to be not happening because
Right.
We're all gonna be
everybody's resources are going to be fairly limited. Everybody's storage space is going to be fairly limited, and if you try to centralize anything in a big way, it's not going to work out the way we would want it to. And in addition to that, I've found success in empowering people who really enjoy their crafting. I'm not talking about the people who just herb for cash. I mean, like guys who are always offering out potions, or always like, "Oh, you need a thing? Hold on, I got," like those people. And we empower those people to receive mats from the guild and sort of have their own reputation as a guild alchemist or a guild, leather worker or whatever. And we could throw some stuff their way to incentivize them to be a service to the guild rather than just to themselves offering it out.
Right, definitely. And people like that, our last discussion that we had, we were talking about handing out DKP points. We'll definitely be awarding that kind of thing to people who are really sending materials towards the guild.
Yeah. I'm a big believer that the officers and the guild leadership should provide direction and help the guild to do something. But when you have too many assignments to your guys, it can get out of control very quickly, especially when there's a lot of people that need to access those things. Like having a centralized bank is a great idea in theory because everything passes through the same hands, etc. But if people need stuff from that bank in and out all day long, you're basically tying up somebody's playtime pretty severely.
Right. Awesome. All right. So then the last thing we were, one of the things we were talking about yesterday was the different rankings. We were talking about class leads. Basically, we'll have GM, officer, class leads, core raider, and then something like casual raider. We can also just name that just casual, I guess. Just a casual guild member.
Shitbox.
Yeah, shitbox. I like that. So I think
How flattering.
that'll be good. I think having class leads will be a really good idea. It'll take a lot of pressure off of us officers to make sure people are doing the right thing. And it's going to be more towards the class leaders. And we just have to make sure the class leaders are doing the right thing and making sure people are doing the right thing.
I think class lead is going to be a lot easier of a position in the modern era, but it's less about teaching somebody how to play their class and more about, oh, hey, I've got a question about a mage. Okay, so now we're not going to tie up Jesse's time with a million questions. We're just going to have, hey, all right, well, Steve the mage talk, and he can maybe point him in the right.
Well, the other side of it too is when we start doing raids. We were talking about this yesterday about making sure that we don't have 3 warlocks all running, the same builds, because then you're losing out on dots and you're losing out on stuff. Because I don't think dots started stacking until probably middle of Burning Crusade that they started letting dots stack on bosses.
That about how people knock each other's dots off of big encounters and stuff, and that's definitely something we'd like to avoid. But I mean that's fairly easy to strategize when we do a composition for a raid.
So I mean, yeah, and a perfect example would be like, okay, a warlock class leader. If you want basically kind of each, warlock pet out there. I don't know the specifics, so warlock will know, but you want to have kind of the different pets out there. You want the imp for the stamina buff, and you want whatever, the fellstalker for whatever. And so that's what for example, like a class leader would do. They just make sure that everything's spread out nicely. We're just using maximum efficiency, and then of course if they see somebody that's not quite pulling the damage that they should, the rotation's off, they just go and talk to them friendly and try to give them advice. Just less stress off of our shoulders to make sure people are doing the right thing. We'll put that on, just empowering more people, kind of like Luceifer was saying. So
I should say up front, whenever it comes to these kind of strategizing, I'm a big fan of decentralized leadership. The more you put into someone's bucket, the more you rely on that one person, the more their one failure affects more people. So I like the system of you've got your CO, you've got all your I guess you would call them our officers, and then you've got your NCOs down below the line, and that would be like our class leads, that would be our crafting leads, people like that. It's sort of a volunteer position that someone could take on or leave or double up with another role. And it causes people to be more invested when they don't have to come and get permission from somebody else to do things, or they know more guys that can help them than just these 3 people.
Yep, I agree.
And worst case scenario, you lose one of your main officers. You already have somebody you can trust and offer the position to step them up. So the holes in leadership remain much shorter.
I would say that from back in vanilla through Wrath of the Lich King, one of the best elements of a guild that I was a member of was the concept. I think I talked about it with a couple of you guys. But we had what was called School of Raid, and we did, say we move on, to the next raid or whatever. We should still revisit the old raids with new players and use it as an opportunity to farm our own raiders. And we called it School of Raid. It helps build team, have team building. It makes people more dedicated to the guild itself. And also we kind of make our own, reliable folks with it. It was like a really cool concept to have, and I definitely suggest doing something like that. That way we can be more attractive to people that are looking for new guilds or that might be new to Classic.
Right. Good point. That's a good point to make.
Yeah, definitely training from within. That's always a good idea.
Yeah, so that's pretty much all the main points that I had written down.
What was the thing we were talking about yesterday that you said to wait and talk about later?
Oh, crap. Yeah, I'll go back in the... God, if I go back in the conversation, I'll be reading a book.
You get brain cancer. It's Dave's fault. You know, he posts all this nonsense, and then, you know... let's see.
Well, I'd rather have that than having officers like never talk. So.
Well, I know we talked about we were talking about the 5-mans for dungeon runs, making sure that we're pairing up main tanks with main healers. You know, obviously pairing which healers go better with which tanks. Mm-hmm. I know we talked about tabards, which was kind of ridiculousness.
I remember what it was now.
I think we're going to get the damn beard tabard, too.
We're talking about making at least some sort of system for people to find people, strangers in this case, guildies, to play alongside of or... So I was thinking on that. And
that's right.
My first thought for that would have been a poll for most likely playtime, and you know, with the instruction at the top, hey, which of these following do you think you'd be, you know, most likely to be playing during? Find a partner, make a friend, level with somebody, so we can open that door and facilitate that for them. I'm sure there's a more complex way to do it, but that was my first thought.
Cool. So are you dead set on going to Feral Kitty? Is that
yes?
Because you got tired of getting beat up?
No, you know, a lot of different reasons. I don't know if we should get into the spiel why I am going for. So, I guess one quick good reason is I could technically, if we had to, I could technically heal, I could technically tank, and I could technically melee DPS, and technically range DPS with the Moomkin, but I'm not going to do that shit.
Too many technicalities.
Yeah, a certain item, but it only has 3 uses, so I have to farm them all the time. So if you have the time, you can set your Feral Druid up really nicely, and the rotations are very...
Talk about the staff helmet?
No, it's a mace of sorts. It gives like some amount of stamina and some agility. And
the pummeler arm.
Yes, something.
Gotcha.
Something pummeler, and it gives 50% attack speed bonus.
So what void does that make in our lineup if you choose that option?
None for the most part.
Because he was just gonna play DPS warrior, so I mean,
yeah, this actually gives us more options in a sense. So
okay,
because like warriors are gonna be dime a dozen on classic. There's so many people who are going to main warriors that it'll be easy to find another hybrid freaking Titan grip warrior.
I don't really see any one particular of the needed, you know, necessary classes of being all that. People who are playing this game are not coming to it blind like they were initially. So that sort of, you know what you're going to have and why has taken place long before the game ever started.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, too, will be pushing people off to the forums and whatnot so that they can kind of get an idea of how builds work. Because, like I said, people who haven't played Classic WoW don't realize that we're not confined to a single tree. It's not, if you're a Shadow Priest, you only pick on the Shadow tree. Go down Shadow.
Right.
Or there's no... one of my favorite things about Classic WoW was there was no such thing as a cookie cutter build. You could, I mean, I could technically build my Shadow Priest to heal just as well as they could DPS. So it's gonna be one of those things where, especially with I remember back when you'd have 2-handed weapon prot warriors, and that would do great.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we can do all kinds of different shit. People do min-max a lot. Sure, you can try to clear it extra fast, but you can do a lot of different things to be able to clear vanilla content. And I totally support whatever. I mean, but at the end of the day, we have something. If we have somebody going some crazy build that doesn't do much, we have to be like, hey. But yeah, that's the great thing about Classic WoW. You definitely, like you said, you don't need cookie cutter builds. So, anything else you guys have in your mind?
I'm going back through the chat to see what else we were talking about.
Yeah, I feel like there was more stuff, but I'm drawing a blank.
Hello Kitty Adventure Island.
Jesse, I want you to go ahead and announce my tabard as the guild tabard.
Yeah,
so
it's going to happen too. I think I was actually surprised at how many people chose. I was like, damn it. Like, there's a lot of people choosing the beard tab.
Well, I mean, it just looks like a fellowship thing.
Yeah,
right?
Well, my real life friends love it. They're like, oh,
can we change the colors though?
I thought those, I mean, there was one other guy said it too. I thought that I tried to consider endgame gear and what would look good with it, and that, I mean, I felt that color scheme was cool. But I mean, whatever,
I mean, maybe go black, yellow, white, instead of the green, just because, I mean, Molten Core gear, there's only like one class that has green in it, and it's the Warlocks.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm going to be. That's what we want.
Now we know the truth.
I hate the greens, the yellows, the pinks, the bright red. All those are just, I'm not wearing that tabard. It's just not going to happen.
Because like tier 1 Molten Core, I mean, for the most part was yellow, white, gray, other than shamans, I think, were like lava and purple. Mages were like pink, purple, and then obviously Fellheart gear, which is green, yellow, red.
Well, it sounds
if you go
like
with fairly neutral colors, I mean, it's either just going to look somewhat bland or it'll fit in. I mean, that's really the only risk. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm wearing all this white and my pink tabard.
Right. I mean, like, unfortunately, priests get shat upon for their gear set in Molten Core because it looked like booty, but
yeah, it's weird, but I don't know. I think it's tolerable compared to some of the things that came after it. It wasn't so bad.
God, they went through a slump. There was about 3 tiers of dungeon gear that could have just been left out, and I would have been okay with it. Maybe even more than that. Maybe 4 tiers.
So you're a fan, that's what you're saying.
I mean, I like certain aspects of gear. Like, I love the Nax gear. I thought all the Nax gear looked really cool. Nax was when we got really our first look at awesome swords and stuff. We started to get really cool looking swords in Nax.
Before gear became all about texture and because a lot of the gear was basically just reskinning of your body. You know what I mean?
Right.
In vanilla, there wasn't much that stuck out except for maybe some glove cuffs or some boots. And when that was still the norm, there was a set, I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It was like the Bone Ring or something, whatever. I don't know. It came out of Skullomance, and I think might have been a couple pieces in Stratholme. I don't remember clearly, but it was for a rogue, and it was basically black with these big silver rings that were kind of around it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just the coolest fucking shit paired up with some BRD shoulders. So there's a lot of good options in there, but you just got to find them.
I remember something that I wanted to talk about really quickly. Getting the guild roster together, should we just tell everybody, be like, hey, just send money over so you can get it done? Or should we try to require people to like send 5 silver over?
No, I mean, I'm good if between us. I would.
Yeah, I'm thinking between us, we can handle it. It shouldn't be a big deal.
I don't think it's going to be such a requirement to be that big of a demand.
No, but I guess I'll just tell people, like, if you want to send a couple silver over.
What is it like?
Yeah, it's
like
10 gold and 10 silver. I think to get the charter is like 10 silver or something, and then to turn it in to register, it's like 10 gold. Which it's day one that can be a little. We can get it, but it's a little tricky. But yeah, because I mean, you're pretty buying your abilities. You're gonna be basically broke up to level 10, and then you start to kind of snowball a little bit of money after that. You're pretty much broke all the time because of just getting your abilities up, training them.
Yeah, well, I'm doing the skinning thing.
Yep, same here.
So do you want to just say we, the guild roster, we all kind of contribute whatever we can?
Yeah. I mean, I'll definitely try to tell people, like, hey, let's just get this done. Send as much silver as you can. Nothing too crazy unless you really want to. But
I also feel like making people have to pay, you really kind of cross a line into like telling people what to do, and you're gonna get the less dedicated, the more tenuous members or new members. Oh, my guild's making me give all my money. Oh, well, mine doesn't. Mine already paid for it. Oh, well, I'm gonna go join. Until solidified and actually have an attractive setup to lure people in with, we got to be careful what we require of people.
I agree with you. I was just okay.
Do you want to say like maybe the end of that week when Classic starts, or at least a couple days in, we like meet in Ogrimmar to sign it and to give money over? Or, like, how do you want to do it? Because
I would say just send it over.
Do you remember how many signatures?
10, I think.
I think it's 10.
10, yeah. It'll be easy. We'll crush those signatures that won't be the problem for sure. Shouldn't be too much of a problem there. Lucky I'll be a druid, and if I'm gonna be pretty far ahead of a lot of people, I think I'll just run over with cat form and get the signatures.
I think things are gonna move pretty quickly. I mean, people will, as time goes on, the pace will spread out and people will start to move at different speeds, but right from the get-go, everybody's gonna be so absorbed with just getting what they need and getting into things and not being swamped with mob camp, that it's not going to be the kind of thing where we're worried about how much division people have in their levels. That's not going to matter much till we get into the 30s.
Yeah.
One thing I would definitely avoid, and by no means do I think you're going to do this, I just think it's worth mentioning, definitely would avoid promising anybody anything.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's why, the guild loot thing that we talked about, I think that was a really good basis to start with, how we talked about that. And that video kind of really just tells people, like, we don't know what's going to happen exactly. Like, people will fall into their positions as we go. That's kind of what I just tell people. It's like, I can't guarantee you that you're going to be in for every raid. I don't know how many people we're going to have. I don't know how things are going to play out. And at the end of the day, I don't know if you're going to make it on time. So
Exactly.
yeah, it's just too many unvariables. There's too many variables in the beginning, especially in the beginning of an MMO release. Cool. That's all that I have, unless you guys have anything else.
I'm looking at this here. We talked about encouraging guild members to interact. We talked about what to do about the guild charter. We talked about guild member rankings. We kind of tapered off on it. We're just going to do casual rating, class leads, officers.
Yeah, GM, officers, class leads, core raider, which will be determined after a couple raid runs, at least a couple, maybe even more. And that'll be the people that show up every single time ready, and then we'll have a casual rank or something like that.
Right.
And then those people, I hope we have a situation where we are able to let casuals in, and we can hash those details out later. Maybe we always let in our core raiders, or maybe we say, hey, we always let in at least 5 or 10 casuals every time if we can, whatever. I think in the beginning, to be honest, I think we'll have no problem filling up the slots and having enough space for everybody. Plus, we'll be raiding a couple different nights every week, so some people will make it for some raids and some people will not make for others. So
yeah, I do know right off the bat that Wednesdays are going to be hard for me because we're middle of the school week. But that doesn't mean that sometimes I wouldn't be able to make it.
Yeah, well, that's okay. At least as long as it's not Jason. He's our main tank. We need him.
Are you gonna bother making a raider rank right off the bat when the guild is formed?
I think
nobody's a raider at that point.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I'll make the rank, but unless we think of something better at that moment, throw it out there, because I think when I make it, nobody's gonna have the rank.
Just make one rank member, and everybody be that until we say we get a certain percentage of people hitting 60.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think until we actually have our first raid, no one is a raider.
That's correct. Yeah. Well, I definitely wasn't going to make anybody core. That's what I'm saying. We'll have a casual rank, not even a casual raider, just a casual rank of some kind. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But I imagine, say we throw together our first guild raid, right? Everybody goes out there, they're all carrying the banner, maybe we die horribly, maybe we kill something, whatever. But then when you step away from that raid, you can hit everybody up to the new rank of raider. You know what I mean? It's a little victory moment for the guild you can build into the progress.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that.
Okay, we talked about how to handle banking, and we had some ideas there. And we talked about what we were looking for with recruitment. I don't know, Jesse, I guess maybe come up with something good that you want us to put in for a macro. That way, whenever we're in a main city or populated area, that way we're all hitting the same macro.
Yep, it sounds good. Yeah, I'll make something, and I'm sure you guys will want to tweak it a little bit, so that'd be perfect. That'd be good. And I think, just as a little note, I think we're really shooting, like Kaotik said, a minimum of 6 hours a week of raid time. We really want to put in on the guild, especially when we're starting out. I think when we get going into raiding, but I think we're set up to be able to do at least 8 hours total as a guild of raid progression. So we'll see.
On that topic, you just made me think of something. You're talking about minimum 6 hours of raid time. We should also make sure that we're starting and ending right when we intend to, especially for people that work. I know that there might be the urge if we're on a good push to want to push past the 11 end time. But we got to also be cognizant of people that have to work the next day, and it's not fair to hold people hold it against them if they expect to leave on the time that was supposed to be.
100%, yeah, and that's why
But the same goes for starting though. People being late, that's bad. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, we definitely Wednesdays are going to be a strict time of the 2 hours, and I think Saturday is our one time where we're going to probably ask people do you guys. We'll do a raid ready check or whatever to ask people, do you guys want to do another hour? Do you guys want to push for this extra achievement or whatever? And then Sundays will be fairly strict, I think.
All right,
that's
cool.
What we're looking at. But yeah, definitely ending at that time is important. I agree with you.
And when we talk about letting casuals in and whatnot, would you say that there would be some kind of restriction, precedence will go to the people, say, they came to the Wednesday raid? Are they going to have precedence to attend the Friday raid over people that maybe couldn't raid Wednesday? Or how is that?
Right. That's a good point. That becomes very tricky. That becomes very tricky at times. We'll have to. I don't know if we should have such a. I don't know. I don't know exactly, to be honest, because I know that becomes problematic at times. Because I want to try to get everybody in all the time throughout the week, but it's that's why I said if we have so many people and we have to really start looking at a second raid group. I mean, I feel like they should have precedence, yes, to be honest. That's how my guilds have always done it when I was starting in Vanilla and Burning Crusade. If you started the raid, and as long as you're on time, you continue to go through the raid until we get to a point where we're like, okay, this person needs this from this boss, and I can come in for the first boss, but if he wants to come in for the second, we could maybe do something like that. But
should on a week to week, should we like, it's like a clean slate?
Right.
Like, it's not gonna be like, well, this person was here all last week, all of a sudden, like, precedence should reset the next week.
I would say, when we make the core raider rank, when people become core raider, I will say, like, honestly, yeah, those people I think will take some kind of precedence.
Right.
If they're coming on time and they have their consumables and they're always there all the time, yeah, we have to let these people in because they show up, they put their time in.
Right.
It's only fair. And that's where we're like, maybe we make a slot of like 5 casuals. I don't know if that's something we can fully plan out now or not. If you guys have any thoughts towards that, it'd be good to hear.
I mean, again, it's going to end up just depending on what we have once we get to that point.
And
if we have 20 cores,
Also keep in mind, there's got to be some accounting for skill when it comes to moving into a new raid area. I'm not talking about farm content. I'm talking about something we haven't done before or have only done once or twice. There are a lot of very loyal and unskilled people that play World of Warcraft.
Agreed.
I know I've had a bunch in guilds. And if you sell away all your loyalty points just because someone shows up on time, you're going to end up with very mediocre performance. And you're going to end up losing people who are not as patient as the tryhards.
And this is where that school of raid was like really big that I was telling you about. Like, we would even officers would make that maybe aren't as high in the skill rating. It was very awesome to be able to train them in the older raids. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because
we won't have any older raids off the start, though. It will be the
right. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's going to be new to everybody in the beginning.
I just want to have a built-in little clause for that. Like, I don't want that ever to slip under the radar when we talk about precedence and core slots and when things get awfully promised. There's a lot of things I really didn't like about Mythic progression guilds and Mythic raiding, but one of the things I did like is they never split hairs about, no, bro, you are not doing well. You need to take a break and go do something else and figure out what your deficiencies are, because we're not going to carry this guy.
Right. We have to value each other's time.
There all
that's
the
for
time.
Sure.
Yeah, because it does cause people to leave, and impatience is not something we should reward, but at the same time, impatience and high levels of skill often go hand in hand.
Agreed.
Well, I mean, if you have the same guy dying to fire, I mean,
well, I mean, there's more to raid performance than not standing in fire. You got to be able to do your part. You got to make those.
Yeah, that's why I guess that goes on to the conversation of how do we determine when we have to actually raid kick somebody, right? If
you're a donut and you keep standing in fire,
Exactly.
dying, then bye.
Hopefully, the person causing the issue will know themselves that, like, maybe I need to, like, respec or work on my rotation. Or,
not stand in fire.
Yeah.
A lot of times when people feel deficient, they will ask for help.
Right, which is exactly what we want. And if people are showing that kind of mentality, then there's no problem with it. We're all going to make mistakes. There's no problem with that. But it's when people are being like really defensive and like, oh, he should have done that, and and they keep making that same mistake, then we have to really be like there's no hard feelings, but you gotta really, we gotta kick them out,
Yeah.
But
in the past, I found great success with somebody higher up, an officer or a class lead, whatever, takes a personal interest in the person for 20, 30 minutes and just goes over their stuff with them. And if they can make the assessment that the person is redeemable, or if the person is just too stubborn or doesn't want to listen, or no, I'm not getting rid of that because that's the thing okay, cool, then you don't have a slot.
I agree with you. That's one of the great things about having a class lead. Yep, for sure. Well, all right.
Is that all the topics?
That is all the topics that I had. And then some, but if you guys have anything else, just shoot it out there. I don't want to keep you guys forever.
I mean, it sounds good to me.
Cool. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we'll have another meeting here probably before we get going, maybe. And then I think we have a really good start, though. We have a better start than most guilds, I think, so we're doing really good.